শুরু করব কি?
হ্যাঁ অবশ্যই।
Good morning, everyone. Welcome you all in the 2 days national webinar on society, economy, and development organized by the Department of Sociology and Department of Geography, Birpara College, Alipurduar, under the guidance of IQAC, Birpara College, Alipurduar, and accompanied by Educational and Cultural Station, Belur. Now I would like to request Sri Pranay De, Assistant Professor, Department of Geography, Birpara College, to introduce the chief guest and resource persons for this day.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, of course. Sure.
A very good morning to all of you. I am proudly welcome you all on the 2 days national level webinar on society, economy and development, jointly organized by the Department of Geography and Department of Sociology under the guidance of Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Birpara College. I thank Dr. P.L. Bashuroy, Professor and Head from Coachbihar Panchanan Marma University, Department of Geography, for delivering his keynote speech on population, aging, a blessing and a curse, and for chairing technical session 1. I also thank Dr. Sohail Firdos, Professor and Head, Sikkim University, for delivering his speech on migration and the COVID-19 challenges, empirical observation from West Bengal, and from chairing technical session 2. I am very much sure these two speeches helped us to enrich our knowledge. Now I take this opportunity to introduce our two resource persons for today's session, Dr. Ranjan Roy, Professor and Head, Department of Geography and Applied Geography, University of North Bengal, and Professor Sheikh Rohim Mondol, former Director to the Center for Himalayan Studies and Center for Local Knowledge, University of North Bengal. We are looking forward to listening your speeches, sir. Now I convey my sincere gratitude towards Dr. Nazrul Islam, Associate Professor, Department of Geography from Coachbihar Panchanan Marma University, and Dr. Gopal Sharma, Associate Professor, Department of Political Science from Coachbihar Panchanan Marma University for chairing technical session 3 and 4. I also welcome Dr. Somnath Bhattacharya, Assistant Professor, Department of Anthropology from Assam University to this webinar. Now I convey my sincere thanks to all the members of organizing and advisory committee because without their support we cannot arrange this type of webinar. And now I thanks to Sri Ramakrishna Mission Vidyalaya Belur for providing us the platform through their educational and cultural station, and special thanks to Sri Ramakrishna Mandal for arranging all the technical aspects of this webinar. Last but not the least, I also express my sincere thanks to all the paper presenters who delivered their very informative presentation yesterday, and now I am looking forward to listen today's technical session. We are grateful to all of you for finding your time to support our initiative. Now over to Manasri ma'am to carry forward the webinar. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Pranay, for introducing our chief guest and the resource persons for today's program. Now I would like to request Dr. Nicholas Bhattacharya, IQAC Coordinator, Birpara College, to deliver welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Monosri. A very warm welcome to the second day of this webinar. It's been a pleasure to sort of be a part of the organizing committee for this particular program. Birpara College has tried ever since the pandemic began to have these programs online. Because we have been forced to shift to online mode for all our academic and research activities. And it's because of the support of a lot of people from within the institution and more importantly from outside the institution that we have managed to do this. And that brings me to people such as Professor Ranjan Roy for being with us today. Thank you so much, and I welcome you to this platform. Uh, Professor Roy is, of course, the head of Department of Geography and Applied Geography at the University of North Bengal. Thanks for your support, and I'm sure that we look forward to listening to your address. Um, I would also like to welcome Professor Sheikh Rohim Mondol sir, who will join us a little later. He's, of course, the former director of the Center for Himalayan Studies at the University of North Bengal. And Professor Mondol will deliver today's second lecture. We also, as Pranay mentioned, we expect Dr. Somnath Bhattacharjee from the Department of Anthropology in Assam University to be with us at this studio later. And again, as I said, people like this who have come from Dr. Sohail Firdos from Sikkim University, for example, yesterday made a presentation, and Dr. Bhattacharjee from Assam, and our well-wishers from different parts of Bengal, particularly from the University of North Bengal, which is the university to which Birpara College is affiliated. We thank all of them. I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Nazrul Islam, Associate Professor in the Department of Geography, Kuch Bihar Panchanan Burma University, and Dr. Gopal Sharma, Associate Professor in the Department of Political Science, Kuch Bihar Panchanan Burma University, for agreeing to chair the technical sessions in the afternoon, which will be held on Google Meet. I hope that all of you enjoy today's proceedings. Without further delay, I sort of hand it over back to Monosri Das Gupta, and I hope that everyone enjoys today's proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your heartwarming welcome address. Now, I would like to request Dr. Ranjan Rai, Professor and Head Department of Geography, University of North Bengal, to deliver his deliberation on an important issue, assessment of tourism industry in Alipurduar district, a geographical perspective. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to convey my heartfelt thanks for inviting me in this 2 days national webinar organized by the Department of Sociology and Department of Geography, Birpara College, for inviting me as a resource person, and the organizing committee, especially my heartfelt thanks goes to Kamraj Jaman and Pranay De, who have consistently tried to contact with me at least to give a lecture in this 2 days seminar. Finally, I have been able to join in the 2 days meeting, webinar meeting. My heartfelt thanks also the director of the IQAC, Birpara College, and teacher in charge, Dr. Dilkumar Pradhan, who have, during this COVID-19 pandemic situation, tried to organize this type of seminar, society, economy, and development. a really very relevant topic, a very good topic chosen by the organizing committee as well as the conveners for holding the webinar. Today, I will actually try to speak little bit on a topic which is related with the society, economy, and development. As it is jointly organized, so I have selected the topic that is assessment of tourism industry in Alipurduar district, a geographical perspective. So I am showing the presentation. So during the presentation, I would like to stop my sharing of video. So can I stop the video? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay. Share. Slide is visible?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet.
Yes.
But in my screen it is showing that the slide is sharing already. Is it visible?
No, sir,
No,
not yet.
sir.
Stop sharing. Stop. Okay. Stop sharing. Then share. Share screen. Screen sharing was based on a good computer. Share screen. Now it is visible.
Sorry,
No,
sir.
sir.
Not yet. Monosri man,
No, it's not
please,
visible, sir.
please contact Zaman,
Yes,
sir.
yes. I'm communicating with Pranay.
Sir, kindly wait for some time. We'll communicate.
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ সেখানেই তো করেছি। হ্যাঁ, শেয়ার সেখান থেকেই করেছি। এখানেও দেখাচ্ছে শেয়ার হয়েছে, এবং আমি যখন বেরোতে হচ্ছে আমাকে স্টপ শেয়ারিং করেই বেরোতে হচ্ছে। হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ, তাই হচ্ছে তো। এই তো ব্লু স্ক্রিন চলে এলো, শেয়ার স্ক্রিন। হ্যাঁ, আমি উইন্ডো শেয়ার করলাম, এই তো উইন্ডো, এই তো ব্লু স্ক্রিন শেয়ার, এই তো শেয়ার, এই তো এখানেই দেখাচ্ছে। হ্যাঁ, স্ট্রিম এই streamer.com is sharing a window. হ্যাঁ,
So we are having a technical issue. Dear participants, be with us.
হ্যাঁ, 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 আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ, ঠিক। কামরুজ্জামান শেয়ার করেছি, কামরুজ্জামান আমি শেয়ার করলাম, হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে শেয়ার করেছি। প্রবলেম হচ্ছে, মহা মুশকিল। You are in the show, এখানে বলছি স্ট্রিম ইয়ার
Excuse
যে
me, sir.
শেয়ারিং।
Daman sir is trying to share the PPT, sir.
হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ,
Dear participant,
হ্যাঁ,
we are facing some technical issues, so keep patience and be with us.
হুম, হুম, প্রেজেন্টেশন মোডে চলে যাও একটু। হ্যাঁ,
আরে হ্যালো
হ্যালো, হ্যাঁ, হ্যালো কামরুজ্জামান।
হ্যাঁ স্যার
হ্যাঁ, এটা প্রেজেন্টেশন মোডে আনো, একটু বড় করো স্ক্রিনটা। এই যে কার্সারটা দেখাচ্ছি আমি, হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ স্যার ওখানে চলে এসছে এবার
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, তুমি একটু স্ক্রিনটাকে বড় করো, ওই প্রেজেন্টেশন মোডে চলে যাও, ওখানটায় দেখো, ওই যে যেখানে দেখো কার্সার আমি দেখাচ্ছি একদম রাইট হ্যান্ড, হ্যাঁ, ওখানে কার্সারটা নিয়ে ক্লিক করো। হচ্ছে?
স্যার আমার আওয়াজ কি আসছে স্যার?
হ্যাঁ,
হ্যাঁ আসছে।
হুম হুম,
আসছে স্যার
ঠিক
স্লাইড
আছে,
শো মানে
ওকে
যেখানে
ওকে, নো
অপশনটা
প্রবলেম,
আছে
চলবে চলবে চলবে,
ওকে স্যার
okay. So today my topic of discussion, that is assessment of tourism industry in Alipurduar district or geographical perspective. Basically, tourism is considered is one of the most important industry in many of the developed as well as the developing countries. If we see the development of tourism industry and its role in the growth of economic development, we can say that tourism has become as one of the foremost driving force for economic development and also a catalyst for employment generation, which can be grown faster than any other sector of economy. And if we see the tourism industry, this is one of the most important service sector industry, as well as it has the potentiality to give the large number of employment opportunities among the poor people, as well as the people who are engaged in the different economic activities. So please show the next first slide. Kamruzzaman, first slide. দেখানো যাবে? প্রবলেম কেন?
জামান স্যার আনমিউট ইউরসেলফ।
আনমিউট করো একটু, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ।
স্যার সম্ভবত স্লাইডটা আপনার ওখান থেকে শেয়ার হচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ?
আমি কি শেয়ার করব স্লাইডটা? মানে স্লাইডটা আপনার ওখান থেকে শেয়ার হচ্ছে।
ও আচ্ছা, আমার এখান থেকে হচ্ছে, কিন্তু তো
হ্যাঁ
মুভ
স্যার।
করছে না।
স্যার তাহলে আমি কি শেয়ার করব এখান থেকে?
আচ্ছা দেখি তো, না আমার এখান,
স্যার আমি আমি
দাঁড়াও 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 দেখি,
স্যার আমি এখান থেকে করছি।
দাঁড়াও, না এটা তোমার এখান থেকে হচ্ছে তো।
স্যার আমার এখান থেকে আমি এবারে স্যার যাচ্ছি।
হ্যাঁ,
স্যার স্লাইড কি শো হচ্ছে?
স্লাইড শোতে চলে যাও।
স্যার শো করছে কি? হ্যাঁ স্যার
না
করেছে।
না, এটা ফ্রন্ট।
আসছে কি?
না 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 না, স্লাইড শো হচ্ছে না।
স্লাইড শো হচ্ছে না স্যার।
না।
স্যার আপনি নেক্সট স্লাইডের পাশে ক্লিক করুন। নেক্সট স্লাইডটা সম্ভবত কি হচ্ছে?
না হচ্ছে না।
স্যার আপনি স্যার তাহলে ওটা স্লাইডটা বন্ধ করুন, আমি একবার স্যার চেষ্টা করি।
করো তো।
শেয়ার শেয়ার স্যার এসছে কি?
না তো আসেনি।
স্লাইডটা এসছে কি?
না।
স্যার 1 মিনিট, আমাকে একটু সময় দিন। মিনিমাইজে যেতে হবে। দর্শক বন্ধুদেরকে আমি দুঃখ প্রকাশ করছি, আমাদের একটু প্রযুক্তিগত সমস্যার জন্য এই বিষয়গুলো ঘটছে। খুব তাড়াতাড়ি এগুলোর সমস্যা আমরা সমাধান করার চেষ্টা করছি। আচ্ছা, স্লাইডটা কি আসছে? স্লাইডটা কি দেখা যাচ্ছে?
এসছে, এবার এসছে।
এবার পাওয়ার পয়েন্টে চলে যাও। স্লাইড
স্যার
মোডে চলে
এবারে
যাও।
কি পরিষ্কার আসছে?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ,
একটু হ্যাঁ,
নেক্সট
স্লাইড শোতে চলে যাও।
হ্যাঁ
ওকে, ঠিক আছে। ওকে, আমি শুরু করি, আর দেরি করে লাভ নেই।
ওকে
So,
স্যার।
at the very outset of my discussion, I would like to say that is tourism, which is regarded as one of the important economic activities of the human beings, and the role of tourism in the economic development of any region, of any place, of any country has been regarded as the major focus of study nowadays, as well as the research for many of the academicians, students, as well as the among the policy makers. If we see The role of tourism as a driving force of economic development, we can consider that tourism has been the pivotal role not only in economic development but also in the social progress. Here, both considering the economic development and social progress, we can consider nowadays tourism is an important engine or vehicle, important engine or vehicle for socio-economic as well as the cultural development of any region. Therefore, when we are actually considering tourism as an economic activity, as a driving force of social progress, which can directly and indirectly can widen the periphery of contact between the cultural aspects and socio-economic aspects of the people who are living in many of the diversified regions. This can affect the social, cultural, educational, as well as the economic sectors in a various ways, in a number of ways. That's why, if we see the significance of tourism industry as an economic activity, this has been also accepted by the Planning Commission, the 11th Planning Commission that was 27 to 20 uh, 2000 2007 to 2012, as well as the last planning commission, that is the 12th planning commission of our country, which actually completed in the year 31st March of 2017, starting from the 1st April 2012, where tourism has earmarked as a dawn of new era for social integration and economic development, and declared as the second largest employment sector for low skilled as well as the semi skilled workers, even in our country. So, the significance as well as the role of tourism as an economic activity, as a major force of driving force of economic development,
I think, share microphone. That is not audible.
I think he has some problem in network. So I request to our audience to wait with us. Very soon he will be us. দর্শক বন্ধুদেরকে বলছি আমি আমাদের প্রযুক্তিগত ত্রুটির জন্য আপনাদের কাছে দুঃখিত। সম্ভবত নেটওয়ার্ক জনিত কারণে স্যারের সাথে সংযোগ বিচ্ছিন্ন হয়ে গেছে। খুব শিগগিরই উনি আমাদের সাথে আবার যোগদান করবেন। ততক্ষণ আপনারা আমাদের সাথে থাকুন। ব্রততী ম্যাডাম, আপনি একটু স্টুডিওটাকে করুন, আমি স্যারের সাথে একবার যোগাযোগ করার চেষ্টা করি।
Okay. Okay. Dear participant, we are facing network problems, so keep with us and keep patience.
আমাদের সাথে যোগদান করেছেন অধ্যাপক সোমনাথ ভট্টাচার্য, আসাম ইউনিভার্সিটি। আপনাকে আমাদের ইউনিটে স্বাগত স্যার। আমার আওয়াজ কি আপনার কাছে পৌঁছাচ্ছে স্যার?
হ্যাঁ, আসছে অল্প, কিন্তু আসছে।
ধন্যবাদ স্যার। ডক্টর রঞ্জন রয় আবার আমাদের সাথে সংযুক্ত হয়েছেন। স্যার আমার আওয়াজ কি আসছে আপনার কাছে?
আসছে, বললাম না, মানে এত প্রবলেম। দাঁড়াও
স্যার, আমি তাহলে কি স্লাইডটা আবার শো করব?
হ্যাঁ দাঁড়াও, আমি একটু এটায় অন্য একটা মেশিনে ঢুকছি, দেখি এখান থেকে হয় কিনা। শেয়ার স্ক্রিন,
আমার এখান থেকে যেহেতু আমি শেয়ার,
হ্যাঁ স্ক্রিন কি শেয়ার হয়েছে? না দেখো তো শেয়ার হয়েছে কিনা। আমি এখান থেকে একটা, হ্যাঁ দাঁড়াও।
ব্রতদী ম্যাম, এখান থেকে কি স্ক্রিনটা দেখা যাচ্ছে?
স্ক্রিনটা দেখা যাচ্ছে নিচে, হ্যাঁ দেখা যাচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ
এবার এসছে।
ওকে ওকে, হ্যাঁ একটু স্লাইড শোটা করো।
নেক্সট স্লাইডে নিয়ে যান।
Okay. If we see the global share of tourism industry in the economic development, that tourism actually contributes 11% of the total gross domestic product in the world, and in India it has now regarded as one of the growing sector of our economy. Next slide. Next slide. একটু বড় করলে ভালো হতো কামরুজ্জামান।
না না, এটা ঠিক আছে স্যার।
স্যার এটা ফুল স্লাইড স্যার।
হ্যাঁ
বোঝা যাচ্ছে, দেখা যাচ্ছে।
আচ্ছা 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 ঠিক আছে, ওকে। The present study area the about the assessment of tourism industry has been considered the Alipurduar district. The Alipurduar district, as we know, that one of the newly created district in our state West Bengal, which declared as the 20th district of West Bengal on 25th of June 2014 onwards. So, the study area, that is the newly created district of our West Bengal. Why did I actually select this district as one of the study area here? Because as we know that Alipurduar district, which has been declared in the year 2014 onwards, and which is mainly covered with the Duars region of our West Bengal, and where the majority of the labor force are mainly engaged in either agricultural activities or as the tea garden workers, and the economic base of the district is not so strong. So, as a newly created district, how tourism source of economic sector can be considered as a boosting factor for providing the employment opportunities as well as alternative source of livelihood among the people of this district, and to what extent the economic benefit can be achieved out of this tourism industry, and at the same time what kind of social and cultural interaction can be achieved with this tourism industry. So if we see the district Alipurduar mainly consists of 6 blocks. I am not actually mentioning the almost all the blocks, as you know, and only one municipal town, that is Alipurduar Sador. So with this, if we see, it is also a multilingual district of West Bengal, where different languages are spoken by the people, and very interestingly, the smallest tribal group of the world, Toto, is found, which is known to all of us. The next slide. So, the location map of the study area I have shown. So, this is actually nothing, the various aspects where I have actually tried to show about the various aspects of Alipurduar district. In first location map, I have also shown the physiographic division. The second map, that is this map also shows, that is the slope map of the Alipurduar district. This map also shows the elevation map of the district. This one is the uh, vegetation index map of the district, and this is actually the land use land cover map of the district. If we see the land use land cover, here the land use land cover is mostly we see in case of tea garden, forest cover, cultivable land, settlement, various kinds of water bodies, as well as agricultural fallow and barren land. So these are the various geographical aspects of the Alipurduar district. Next, next slide. So Alipurduar district, as you know, the district is famous for three types of tea, which indicates tea, tree, and also tiger. Tea tree, along with dolomite, are the major resources of the district, and many rivers like Torsa, along Mujnai, Raida, Kaljani, Sankos are the major rivers of the districts. And as you know that in West Bengal, this centrally this Duars region occupies or shares the largest production of tea centrally in
হ্যাঁ
the
স্যার
state of
বলুন।
West Bengal. So tea plantation and
হ্যাঁ স্যার বলুন
processing
স্যার।
is the
হ্যাঁ স্যার বলুন। হ্যালো।
only major industry in the tea gardens, dense evergreen forest with wildlife and hill with the various types of rivers which have originated to the Bhutan
হ্যাঁ স্যার
hills.
বলুন।
Raman sir, please
হ্যাঁ
mute
স্যার দিচ্ছি।
yourself.
People of these districts basically
স্যার দিচ্ছি।
depends on agriculture and harvest, and the district is well connected with the four national highways recently and Indian railways. Next, if we see the demographic characteristics of the Alipurduar at a glance, as per the census of 2011 census, these are the demographic attributes: male female sex ratio, overall population density of the district, and overall population density, where we can say that is the 539 per square kilometer, which is lower than the state average also. Literacy rate is moderate, near about 65%, 64.7%. Obviously, male literacy higher than the female literacy. Next slide. And majority of the major economic activity which are mainly found and where the most of the people are engaged, we can say that is total working population, almost 40% of the district, and near about 40% they are also dependent, and out of this 40% of the total working force in the district, near about 15% they are engaged in the agricultural activities as cultivators or farmers. 26% almost population or working force are engaged as agricultural laborers. And very interesting to say that the lion's shares of population they are engaged in other kinds of activity where these other kinds of activity basically includes the tea garden workers. Okay, next.
স্যার স্লাইড কি দেখা যাচ্ছে?
দেখা যাচ্ছে স্লাইড।
সম্ভবত স্যারের নেটওয়ার্কের কারণে কি স্যার কি সঙ্গে
ডিসকানেক্ট
বিচ্ছিন্ন
হয়ে
হয়েছে
গেছে
কি?
হয়তো।
আচ্ছা, তাহলে কিছুক্ষণের মধ্যেই স্যার হয়তো আসবেন। স্যার আছেন, সম্ভবত নেটওয়ার্কের কারণে স্যার আওয়াজ আসছে না আমাদের মধ্যে। দর্শক বন্ধুদেরকে জানিয়ে রাখি, আজকে আমাদের ওয়েবিনারের দ্বিতীয় দিনে আমরা পা দিলাম। আমাদের সাথে আছেন ডক্টর রঞ্জন রয়, ডিপার্টমেন্ট অফ জিওগ্রাফি, নর্থ বেঙ্গল ইউনিভার্সিটি। ইতিমধ্যে আমাদের সাথে স্টুডিওতে চলে এসেছেন শেখ রহিম মন্ডল।
ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ।
স্যার আমাদের স্টুডিওতে আপনাকে স্বাগত। স্যার আমার আওয়াজ কি আপনার কাছে পৌঁছাচ্ছে?
একটু জোরে বললে ভালো হয়,
স্যার
খুব কম শোনা যাচ্ছে।
আচ্ছা, শুনতে পাচ্ছেন
মানে
কি?
খুব কম আসছে, খুব মানে অল্প আওয়াজ আসছে, ভয়েসটা একটু বেশি লাগবে।
স্যার হেডফোন আছে কি? যদি হেডফোন ব্যবহার করতেন তাহলে
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, আমি দেখছি।
ঠিক আছে। দর্শক বন্ধুদের কাছে আবারও দুঃখিত, কারণ আমাদের সাথে আছেন প্রফেসর রঞ্জন রয়। উনি আমাদেরকে আজকে যে বিষয়ে আলোচনা করছেন সেই বিষয়টি হলো অ্যাসেসমেন্ট অফ ট্যুরিজম ইন্ডাস্ট্রি ইন আলিপুরদুয়ার ডিস্ট্রিক্ট, এ জিওগ্রাফিক্যাল পারসপেক্টিভ। তো প্রযুক্তিগত ত্রুটির কারণে ওনার সাথে সংযোগ বিচ্ছিন্ন হয়ে গেছে। উনি আবারও আমাদের মধ্যে যোগদান করবেন, আপনারা একটু অপেক্ষা করুন। এরপরে আমাদের সাথে থাকবেন প্রফেসর শেখ রহিম মন্ডল, ফর্মার ডিরেক্টর অফ সেন্টার ফর হিমালয়াস স্টাডিজ, ফর্মার ডিরেক্টর ফর সেন্টার অফ লোকাল নলেজ, ইউনিভার্সিটি অফ নর্থ বেঙ্গল। এছাড়াও আমাদের সাথে থাকবেন নজরুল ইসলাম স্যার, অ্যাসোসিয়েট প্রফেসর, ডিপার্টমেন্ট অফ জিওগ্রাফি, কোচবিহার পঞ্চানন বর্মা ইউনিভার্সিটি। আমাদের সাথে আছেন প্রফেসর গোপাল শর্মা, অ্যাসোসিয়েট প্রফেসর, ডিপার্টমেন্ট অফ জিওগ্রাফি। এবং আমাদের সাথে কিছুক্ষণ আগেই যোগদান করেছেন ডক্টর সোমনাথ ব্যানার্জি, অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট প্রফেসর, ডিপার্টমেন্ট অফ অ্যানথ্রোপোলজি, আসাম ইউনিভার্সিটি। অধ্যাপক সোমনাথ ব্যানার্জি আমাদের সাথে আছেন, আপনাদেরকে পরিচয় করিয়ে দিই। স্যার আপনি যদি একটু ক্যামেরাটা অন করেন। আমাদের সাথে সংযোগ বিচ্ছিন্ন হয়েছে ডক্টর রঞ্জন রয়ের সাথে, আমরা আবার তার সাথে যোগাযোগ করার চেষ্টা করছি। স্যার আপনার পিছনে লাইটটা প্রচন্ড আসছে, যার কারণে আপনার মুখটা পরিষ্কার আসছে না। সোমনাথ স্যার আপনাকে একটু রিকোয়েস্ট করছি যদি পিছনে
মোবাইল থেকে জয়েন করেছি। হ্যালো,
আবারও ফিরে এসেছেন রঞ্জন রয় স্যার। স্যার শুনতে পাচ্ছেন আমার কথা?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, শুনতে পাচ্ছি, আমি মোবাইল থেকেই ঢুকলাম। হ্যাঁ, মোবাইল থেকে ঢুকলাম,
Hello?
তোমরা একটু স্ক্রিনটা শেয়ার করো।
প্রফেসর
ক্লিয়ার হয়েছে এখন?
হুম।
ঠিক আছে,
হ্যালো,
হ্যালো।
এখন
ঠিক
ক্লিয়ার
আছে
হয়েছে?
স্যার। হ্যাঁ স্যার,
হ্যালো,
স্যার আমি স্ক্রিনটা শেয়ার করছি।
হুম।
হ্যাঁ স্যার, হ্যাঁ স্যার ক্লিয়ার হয়েছে।
হুম।
শেখ রহিম মন্ডল স্যার, আপনাকে বলছি স্যার, আপনার আওয়াজও ক্লিয়ার হয়েছে স্যার। একটু মিউট করে রাখেন স্যার। রঞ্জন স্যার, আপনাকে আমি শেয়ার করছি স্যার।
আচ্ছা,
এখানে ছিল তো?
হুম।
স্যার স্লাইড কি দেখা যাচ্ছে?
না,
না না এখনো আছে
আসেনি এখনো?
না।
না।
আহ,
না, এভাবে হয় না।
স্যার একটু অপেক্ষা করুন স্যার, সম্ভবত কোনো একটা কারণে আবার একটু সমস্যা হচ্ছে স্যার। আমি আবার চেষ্টা করছি স্যার। স্যার এসছে কি?
না,
না এখনো
আসেনি।
পর্যন্ত কাজ হ্যাঁ এসছে এবার।
আহ, আহ, এসছে তো?
হুম। হ্যাঁ, এসে। Potentiality of tourism area in Alipurduar district. Actually, we know that every part, every corner of the Bengal Duars, which is mostly located in the Alipurduar district, is really full of spectacular pictorial sites, and Duars region is a paradise of nature where every aspects of tourism, both physical aspects and cultural aspects, are available in the Bengal Duars, that is in the district of Alipurduar. And the location of, as I have already shown in my earlier map, location map of the Alipurduar district, the location of Alipurduar district actually lies at the foothill of the outer Himalayas and mostly covered with the floodplain of the various rivers which have emerged from the Bhutan hills. And also it is actually this region, this district, it is actually the western part of the Brahmaputra river valley. The district is full of flora and fauna, and of course, the gateway to the Bhutan, nearest country, neighboring country, and it is actually the part of the Alipurduar's savanna region. Naturally, all kinds of geographical elements in terms of slope, in terms of physical other attributes, geo-environmental factors, all are available in the district. And if we see the next slide, I have already discussed this point. This next. So this is actually the Alipurduar district at a glance. Geographical area, approximately 3,000 square kilometer, where the average temperature maximum 31 degree and minimum temperature in average 10 degrees centigrade. Average rainfall, which is almost very, very high, 350 centimeter to 400 centimeter, and full of flora and fauna. And throughout the years, except rainy season, this region is open for the tourists. Next. I am not discussing this point. You just show the map. Yes. This is actually the places of tourist interest of Alipurduar district. Here, the various places of tourist interest I have shown, that is Boksha Tiger Reserve Forest, Boksha Fort, Rajam Hat Khawa, Rai Matang, Sikia Joda, Chilapata Forest, Jayanti, Kumargram, Joldapara National Park. Almost all these, the Porobosti, Lepchakha village, Totopara, Kunjonagar, Hathipota, almost are the major tourist attracted site of the district. And I have also tried to show the distance of various tourist site from the Alipurduar Sadar town. So different tourist sites, how are they distant from the Sadar town? I have tried to show here. I am not showing this. So next slide. Impact of tourism on local economy and potential benefit. As we know that the entire district is mainly characterized either by the agrarian economy or some kinds, or the tourism, tea industry. But as we know, the tea industry nowadays are facing a lot of problems in various aspects, and many of the tea workers, they are now basically the out migrants from this district to the other districts, to the other states. So this is a common picture. Because of the shrinking of their livelihood, they are bound to be an out migrant from this area. And as we know that agricultural sector in this district, if we see the other regions where tea estates or tea plantations are not developed, but agriculture is developed. But as we know that agriculture cannot support all the labor force of this district. So many of the people, they are living, they have already left for their livelihoods from this district to other districts, to the other neighboring district, neighboring states, even in Assam, even in Gujarat, Rajasthan, Delhi, almost everywhere, the tea garden workers as well as from the people who are engaged in other agricultural activities and other kinds of activities, they are out migrant. Naturally, the several kinds of problems are facing in the economic life or the livelihood pattern of the people who are residing in this district, and the majority presently the lions that is the substantial number of population, substantial percentage of population, they have already out migrated from this district. So if we consider the tourism industry and if we want to uh, bring the tourism industry as one of the major economic activity in the industrial map of the district, in the industrial scenario of the district, then it can actually help in a number of ways. That is, tourism industry, directly or indirectly, it has impact on income, various kinds of infrastructural development, physical infrastructural development, as well as other forms of infrastructural development. There are a lot of impacts of tourism on local economy and potential benefit, what we can derive from the development of tourism industry. So, if we see the infrastructural development at present and what should we do for the infrastructural development in connection with the tourism industry, we will have to consider that tourism or transport network, that is tourism industry, is directly related with the developed transport network, because transport network is a very important key element for tourism infrastructure. Not only the present district under study, even everywhere, if we want to go for the tourism development, if we want to give a more impetus or make it a pivotal role in the economic development, we need the transport network development for tourism industry. So, why it requires? Because tourists generally prefers places with good transportation network and accessibility. Therefore, for the identification of the tourism sites, if we assess the level of tourism industry at present and for its future development, the several methods we can apply, how, and in what way we can go for the development of the tourism industry in the Alipurduar district, which is a newly created district and which can play an important role in the economic development of the region. Economic development of the region means for the people who are living in this region, because this Alipurduar district is one of the districts where the overall development, if we see in terms of economic developments, in terms of social development, in terms of cultural development, although everything is there, but they are not developed if we consider the other parts of the state, other parts of the country even. So, my here point of interest is that how we can identify the tourism potentiality. How we can identify the tourism potentiality in the Alipurduar district. because in Alipurduar district there are several types of tourism we can consider. That is rural tourism, adventure tourism, eco-tourism, heritage tourism, tribal tourism, agro-tourism. So all kinds of tourism elements are available, but how we can actually identify the tourism potentiality in the district, which is the newly created district. So identification of tourism potentiality, I have actually tried to calculate here based on two categories considering two indicators. One is the resource values as well as one is the developmental indicators. That is, this model has been used by McCartcher and Ho in the year 2006. Here, I have actually considered two indicators. One is the resource value, another is the developmental indicators. For resource values, for example, considering the traditional culture, so there some scale has been actually considered from 0 to 1, and according to the survey was conducted and what the respondent they have actually given about the traditional culture, aesthetic value, historical value, and accordingly we have I have actually calculated, and I have actually seen that for historical value, that is considering historical attractions, traditional awareness, almost all these, the research value of the district as a whole, it is near about 0. That is tourism potentiality in connection with the research values of the district. It shows that is 0.355, which is not very. Again, we can consider that is not also high. So 0.33, 0.35, that is 0.36, that is below the 50%. And the developmental indicators, that is near about 4, which is also below the 50%. So this way, if we consider the tourism potential zones in the district, also we can consider how the tourism potential zone can also be identified in the existing category scenario of the district. Some multi-decision model we can also consider, and that also help to understand that how the tourism potential zone we can actually identify. Anyway, all these factors, all these calculations helps to identify that at present there are two circuits. I have actually calculated two circuits, means that is circuit 1, that is circuit 1 and circuit 2. Circuit 1 actually connected, that is Raja Bhatkawa from Shikia Jora, Raja Bhatkawa, Boksha National Park, Jayanti, Boksha, Raimatang, Lepchaka village. So this is the circuit 1. So if the tourists, if they want to visit the district, Alipurduar district, they can follow the circuit 1 for 2 days or 3 days. Then the second circuit, I have actually calculated the second circuit, that is also, this circuit is located northern part of the region, which covers generally the forest areas like that is the Chilapata Forest, Kunjanagar, Eco Park, Jaldapara National Park. And this circuit is developed based on the tourist destination of the various forest places. And in addition to another circuit can also be identified, which I I have not shown here, but this is also one of the important tourist circuit in the district. That is Kumargram, near about that is Assam border, and also the Atia Mochor, then Baneshwar, which is located in the district of Coachbihar. So this is another circuit can also be considered for visiting the tourists who are actually interested to come in the district, Alipurduar district. So overall, we can say the various factors, almost all the geographical factors, natural beauty, historical factors like box of food, the cultural factors, different tribal cultures which are available, socio-economic factors like the tea, location of the various tea gardens, then we can consider the ecotourism, also the adventure tourism because of the flowing of the various kinds of turbulent rivers which are actually which have originated from the Bhutan parts. Almost all these rivers can also be considered as the sites for the adventure tourism. So this way, almost all the uh, elements for the prospects of the tourism industry in the district is available. And finally, what I can consider that although there are several types of problems is not well developed in Alipurduar district like many other parts of it because of its available geographical factors, geo-environmental factors, that is natural beauty, tribal culture, historical factors, cultural, as well as the other kinds of socio-economic boosting factor for the economic development of the district, and it can help the social as well as the cultural bond of the people who are living in these people, and it can ultimately, as if we can, if government as well as the various kinds of organization, non-government organization, that means NGOs, if they actually pay much more attention to explore the tourism, for the development of tourism industry in the district, it can actually play an important role in the economic, social, as well as the cultural development of the people and who are living in this district, and as a whole, the economy, social, and cultural development of the region as a whole. So, my final conclusion goes that tourism industry should be promoted by the government sites as well as by the different NGOs so that tourism industry become an alternative economic activity when the tea gardens and other economic prevailing economic sectors, they are facing lot of problems, and because of this the substantial number of population from these districts, they are the out migrant right now. And if we want to stop, if we want to arrest this situation, if we want to solve the problems of out migrants from this district and illegal human trafficking from the tea gardens as well as from the rural areas, we should promote urban tourism along with the different forms of tourism by the governments as well as the NGOs. So, thank you. But instead of that, I have actually, although I have actually joined in time, but due to network problem, there are a lot of problems like that of the economy of the problems of the district. Today I have to face. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir, for highlighting one of the most important aspect of economy and development, that is tourism. And I hope that all the participants have been enriched by listening you. Thank you so much, sir. Next, I would like to request Professor Sheikh Rahim Mandal, former Director of Center for Himalayan Studies and former Director of Center for Local Language, University of North Bengal, for delivering his address on an important issue interrogating the concept of development. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So may I start now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
May I start?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible? Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, yes.
yeah, it is almost a good noon to all of you. I really, before the beginning, I really appreciate my colleagues of the Birpara College. It is a joint venture by the Department of Sociology and Geography. Very nice combination. One is belong to social science, other one is a natural science, and this interdisciplinary perspective, I like it very much. I appreciate you for organizing the very important topic, which is rather a catchy topic, society, economy, and development. And once again, I'm very happy to see many of my old colleagues and friends here in the digital platform in this pandemic era. Yesterday, there was one of my old friend I came to know, Professor Sohail. Today, I have seen Professor Ranjan, my own colleague of the university, and my other student come colleague Somnath Bhattacharya is also here. Many of my other students are also here. I am thankful to all of you. The topic you have given to me, it is basically a theoretical paper, but one thing, I am not an expert of making PowerPoint presentation. Rather, I have some points in mind and some points in my paper. So on that basis, I will be speaking today. The topic which you have selected, I once again appreciate, very important, very timely too. Society, economy, and development. But I would like to add one more thing, otherwise my deliberation will not get a success. I would prefer to title the entire seminar as a society, economy, politics, and development, as because the politics is hidden here. Without politics, neither development is possible, as because in present context that I will highlight how politics is related with the development. This is my major focus, one of the major focus. And I have used the term interrogating, mean how I can explain the word development in the present multidisciplinary context. So first of all, another joking thing I am also telling, development basically we call Bikash. So sometimes we also call joking the developers as the Bikasda. So we have to know who are the Bikasdas today. The term development is now almost very popular, from politicians to planners to academicians and of course to medias. So it is almost a buzzword, most popular word. Perhaps among the social science discourses, the term development is more used than any other concepts. That's a very important thing. What we call in lexicon of social sciences, the development term used again and again, repeatedly, almost we all academicians, politicians, scientists, all using talking about the development, but without understanding what is development. That I will speak. So, but one of the thing you have to accept that the development term is originated from West. It is not our term. It is not given by us. As we borrowed everything from the West, with the natural, obviously a legacy of colonial legacy, we also borrowed the term development from the West, particularly from the developed countries. That's because you see there is some distinction, even in geography and sociology, anthropology, developed countries and underdeveloped countries. So who has coined the term developed and who has coined the term underdeveloped? Underdeveloped countries never coined the term underdeveloped, but developed countries coined the term both development and underdevelopment. So this is the issue. Few years back, when developmental issue was not so popular, I was teaching sociology, anthropology for the last 40 years. But when I was teaching 20 years back, there was no paper in our discipline is development. That was the paper used to call modernization. Almost the same thing. I will come to that point later on. Basically, it is not the use first time in social sciences. Historically, if you look, in every discipline, development term was not there, but there was a term called social change and social transformation. That term gradually evolved, and ultimately reached to the last stage development. God knows what will be the other in coming days. So it was started from the study of social change. Development is also a means of social change. It is also a process of social change. But we we do not like to talk about the social change today. Rather, sometimes we call parivartan. That means also change. That is also development in political terminology, but actually it is not there. But now that is why now the radical school of social science subjects and natural science subjects, they raise the voice against the term, quote unquote, term development. As a result, some people also started to say it is basically nowadays more a political term rather than academic term. And sometimes some people also said that new ism has developed, what is called developmentalism, as capitalism, Marxism, socialism. The new era has come in our academic discourses, developmentalism. And this developmentalism actually has its root in capitalism. I repeat, development has its root in capitalism. Without understanding capitalism, it is very difficult to understand the concept of development. This is my first request to all of you. So one thing, now there is a methodology in social science and almost all sciences called reflexivity. Reflexivity means looking back or look it in details from inner side, inner perspective. If we use the term reflexivity to the concept of development, we'll see sometimes we also call development and democracy. But if you see democracy, development requires democracy. Obviously, without democracy, development is impossible. But how far democracy actually operates in development, we have to see. This is the first academic question. Without democracy, you cannot say development. That is why you say our big brother America always said about democracy, democracy. They also said development, development, and what actually going on, perhaps all of you know. So the case of Afghanistan, for an example. If it was a democratic, if it was a developing, then what has happened last few days we are watching. I'm just putting an example. So we are in need of a new alternative models of development. What we call postmodern approach means we are fed up of listening development. We have seen its fate. Perhaps you geography people know better than me how environmental is polluted. Who are responsible? Is it the development is responsible or someone else is responsible? If you look in that way, reflexivity. Obviously, answer will come that ultimate result is climate change is the result of so-called industrial development. It is one example, one hypothesis, maybe a thesis also. So in that case, we are in need of a new path, new model, new agencies of development. Development requires three important things: the path of development, the model of development, and of course, agencies of development. Without these three models, we cannot study development in a proper sense. So, actually, the main thing is that we are all talking about the development without considering the people's view, without considering the people's what they want. Rather, we consider the power, voices of the power, voices of the administration, voices of the policymakers. What they feel development, they want to develop on that way, whether people like it or not. And that is the end result of so-called chaotic development at present. So main thing is we are in search of a alternative model. An alternative model as because we want to test the given model at a local context. Suppose those who are doing research, they should do research. What are the models of development? What are the facilities of development? How that operates in the local context to the people's level, whether people are happy with the development. Suppose put an example, many of you are our student of North Bengal University, if not all. You can easily see, I came before 40 years to this North Bengal University, more than 40 years. That time our campus was entirely different. Campus almost same. Of course, new constructed buildings are there, but just at the entrance gate, suppose gate number 2, now there is a Asian highway. Within 10 years, one can easily see how there is a change. If you enter the campus, those who entered 10 years before, now are entering in the campus, you will see all big trees are finished at the roadside. You will see the new flyovers. There are a lot of small shops that are all vanished. Now, how we will judge? Those who are moving by car, will say very good development that I can smoothly reach to the campus through flyover. To me, it is a development, no doubt of it. But the people, the shopkeepers, the vendors, and the plants all are vanished. Can we call it a development for all? It means development nowadays is a class-based. Rich become richer, poor become poorer. It is almost a universal theory. So you see the development, how it operates, we have to see. Now that is why the alternative models, there are many alternative models have emerged. Among the most important are the sustainable development. I think all geography people knows better than me. And even in sustainable development, there's another concept also come, human development, human security, so on, or participatory development. The most important popular term is alternative of the existing developmental model. One is sustainable development. Second one is human development. Third one is the participatory development. Since time is short, within 1 year, it is very difficult to finish all the things. Only I will explain here the sustainable, more popular term. Whenever come to sustainable development, it is more popular in geography rather than sociology. But how we define? Basically, we define sustainable development as United Nations has declared sustainable development. They have a parameter. But in sociology, even today, there is not a sociological concept developed on sustainable development. Whatever concept we use, it is basically we follow the United Nations, it is universal. But how it will sustainable development universal model is applicable to a village of Jalpaiguri or a village of Alipurduar or a village of Terai? It is a great question. So I personally, I want to define sustainable development as against of the development, as a different alternative model of development, as development is sustainable, number one, if it is environmentally tenable. It means whether environment support it or not, whether it support it, the environment or not. So environmentally tenable. Economically viable, number two, economically viable, where development is economically viable to all or a particular section of the people. Sometimes we say, well, actual in operation it is not economically viable. So we have to see. First one is environmentally tenable. Second one is what I said, economically viable. Third is socially equitable. So, because the development we see it creates inequality. So how it can be called development? So if we call sustainable, that must be socially equitable. Fourth is culturally adaptable. It is an anthropological concept, means sociological concept is socially equitable. Anthropological concept is culturally adaptable, means whether my culture accept it or not, or whether my culture adapted to it or not. Suppose there are many developmental programs for which culture is sometimes rejected that. So one thing is most important thing, how far is culturally adaptable. And last part is very important, is geography. It is not for present generation, but for future generation. So until unless you fulfill these 5 parameters, we cannot call it a sustainable development. Actually, we follow the model of sustainable development from United Nations, but basically highlighted towards environment. Very good approach, but lacking the approach of sociological, lacking the approach of anthropological, lacking the approach of political sciences. So it needs a redefinition of sustainable development in a particular local context, how people feel it about that. How far is environmentally tenable? How far it is economically viable? How far it is socially equitable? How far it is culturally adaptable, and finally how far it thinks for not meeting the needs of present generation, but for the meeting of the future generation. That is the most crucial part of sustainable development. Means we should not look at this moment, but we should look beyond. So looking beyond is the goal of sustainable development. Now, as I already told you, the development term time to time historically changed. Initially, it was started with the idea of progress. The progressivist thesis, what colonialists use, that we are the progressivists, rest of the part of the world, particularly Asian countries, are not progressivists. So we have what you call racial theory, that we are the superior race of progressivist race. So we can capture the land and as a colony and can rule them for their progress. It was the justification of the colonialists. The progressivist thesis, social progress was initially a term. So idea of progress with another idea came as soon as colonialists, Britishers left. Progressivist thesis also, and this within this progressivist thesis in anthropology, in sociology, anthropology, we call westernization also. It means westernization is the best model for development. I think all of you know the Western education system, Western technology, Western bureaucracy, whatever may be, what maybe one can go by the Srinivas's famous theory of westernization. Next, as soon as the Britishers vanished, progressivist theory also changed. Americans came into the picture, another Westerners. They have given the concept of modernization. That is why right from after 47 to late 50s, it was basically dealing with the so-called progress and Western ideology or westernization, the path. But as soon as the vanished, the British power gradually vanished, American power started to crop up. The new terminology came, the same thing has come in a different way, what we call old wine in a new bottle, that is the modernization. Americans started to modernize us by giving a lot of so-called economic support, lot of facilities, what we call aids in the name of aids, new agricultural modernization, academic modernization, bureaucratic modernization. And one important example of academic modernization, the use of the term, you can easily see. Use of the term, British policy was suppose lecturer, reader, and professor, and now American term is basically assistant professor, associate professor, and professor. So you see, you can see in the academic aspect, it is also same thing. And I was fortunate enough, as if my designation all was followed by this British period up to professor level, but now all of you know that the new terminology has come. So you see how it has influenced everywhere, the so-called modernization process. And last one, a new, and it was continuing the modernization process up to 1980s. And after 80s, you see new world order has formed, what we call global order or globalized era. And in global area, new concept has come, what we call globalization. That is also another terminology of development. Means globalization is one of the important parameter of development today, as they feel so. I'm not going in detail. So you can easily see how the term development time to time has changed. Initially started with the progress, then switch over to modernization, and then switch over to westernization, then switch over to modernization, and finally reach to globalization. Now another terminology has reached, what we call post-global. That's because the reflexivist or post-modernists say what is post-global. In post-global era, we are thinking for sustainable development. Just a minute, 1 minute. Hello? 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 কালু একটু পরে আমি আজকে একটু পরে হ্যাঁ বাড়িতে আছে তো দিয়ে যায় হ্যাঁ বাড়িতে আছে দিয়ে যায় হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে sorry some urgent phone call came. So you can easily see how the term development time to time switch over, and who are responsible? Once again the big power, they regulate the term development either in the term of a progress or in terms of westernization or in terms of modernization or in terms of globalization. But voices has come from the local people now. They are fed up with these concepts now, what we call post-global era, what we call sustainable development. Now comes, whenever you're talking about the development, you think there is a methodology, how I can understand methodology, how I can understand development, what is development, what is not. There is a dichotomy, what we call Marxist theory, what we call as the dialectical approach. This dialectical approach, if you adopt, if you say development, then another counterpart is there, underdevelopment. So until unless you do not understand the underdevelopment, you cannot understand development. Suppose my health is good. I can say it is good. If I say this was the bad thing, now it is a good. Yesterday my health was bad. That was the condition. Now today my health is good, as because this is the condition. So similarly here also in development, what was the dichotomy, development versus underdevelopment. First of all, I am talking about the underdevelopment. The term underdevelopment now it is a little bit polished, what we call butter. By giving butter, we call it now developing. Actually, we underdeveloped in the notion of developed countries, but they are supporting by aids for development to us. That is why we borrowed the term developing, means we are also developing as what you said. What you said means how Western masters said. So this is the term. So in underdevelopment, how they characterize underdevelopment? One important thing is the fatalism, belief in fatalism, growth, rampant illiteracy, subjugation of the status of women, weak technology, weak transport, lack of industries, superstitious beliefs and practices. They actually coined this term to demarcate such a country as a underdeveloped. So that is why they want to make develop them by providing aids, just to have a control. What we call the second control, today's control is neo-colonialism. In British way, it was direct colonialism, and now today's world, we are also under colonialism in different way, what we call neo-colonialism. So you see here, now what is the opposite term? How they define development? They define development in terms of capitalistic growth, growth of industries, growth of infrastructure, growth of literacy, growth of higher education, growth of improved health status, of course, human resource development, huge employment opportunities, higher status of women and children. These are some of the characteristics of development. Very sweet words, but how far actually operate? If it is so, we have adopted such a thing of developmental policies. If it is so, why India, after this 70 years of independence, unable to achieve goal all these things to, and unable to reach all these things to all the people? They have reached these facilities only to a group of people, what we call sectarian development or class-wise development, not development for all. Now, development can be, once again, be descriptive and prescriptive. Descriptive means, as I said, you can measure the development as per its characters. Infrastructural growth, economic growth, educational growth, that is descriptive term. But another term is a prescriptive, means you should develop as the power prescribed. That power prescribed means as per directives. Whose directives? Agencies' directives. Who are the agencies? You see, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, NGOs from outside, and if you come inside, state agencies, panchayats, so-called municipalities, governmental plans and policies. So there are agencies. They provide support for development. What actually we social scientists call planned change. So development is nothing but a planned change. There are two types of changes. One is spontaneous change, other one is a planned change. A spontaneous change means if I feel that it is my requirement, I must do it, whether someone support me or not, but I will try to do that. It is spontaneous. Suppose my studies, I want to have a study. If I spontaneously go through that, I will success. And if someone create pressure on me, you have to give examination. So I will not take it much seriously. So I'll do it. I will get something, but there will be difference between a spontaneous and the so-called directives. So directive change is basically development is nothing but a planned change or a directive change, which is entirely different from induced change. Induced change has another meaning in social sciences. Famous British scholar, he used the term structural change. Actually, structural change is basically the induced spontaneous change. What is that structural change? I'm just defining. Of course, I forget it. I used to memorize my student days. And even for my writing thesis, as because my thesis was almost on this industrial development, that time I used that concept for the sake of my thesis. Spontaneous change is nothing but a social interaction in which you just try to memorize, in which pressures are felt, number one, advantages perceived, and responsibilities recognized. Three things are very important for a spontaneous change. And if you can also translate it in the context of planned change too. So structural change is nothing but a social interaction in which pressures are felt, means I must feel this is my need, it is my pressure. Whether I need food or whether I need education or whether I need air condition, my pressure is important. Pressure from within. Pressures are felt, advantages perceived, whether those things are available to me or not. This is the question of plan change. Yeah, whether planning supporting you to fulfill those goals. The last one is responsibilities recognized. Responsibility recognized, whether I'm able to use it or not, whether I'm capable to utilize it or not. Suppose I want to give higher education to my kids. It is my pressure. I feel so. It is my desire. But I need for this higher education of my kids good schools, good colleges, good universities nearby. Who will provide it? A state should provide it, the planners. And finally, yes, state has provided that. Now my responsibility, whether I am capable to provide my students, my kids there, whether I'm economically capable, whether I'm socially capable, or whether I'm health-wise capable. So these things are very important. So, I mean, three things are very important. It is a social interaction in which pressure are felt, but our planning, developmental planning, what in the development going on, they do not care about your desire. They do not care that whether you are able to continue it or not. Rather, what they do, they give something to you, whether you like it or not, but you have to adopt that. That is the today's developmental policy. What popularly called in social sciences is a top-down approach. Top-down approach means the planners, the policymakers, the politicians, without visiting people, they feel that if we do it, people will accept it. So accordingly, they make a plan, and then plan is the one to implement. Sometimes get success, sometimes not. Now the question is if lot of plans already we have planned, lot of plans already implemented, why still we are not able to achieve success in Sarva Shiksha Mission? My first question. Huge money is spent, huge infrastructure developed. Look at the case of even in COVID context. Lot of plannings have taken up. Even then, why COVID is spreading? Question is somewhere there is a fault, and we have to find out those faults. And only it is possible if we go by the theory of structural change. Now, there's another kind of change, qualitative and quantitative. You can measure the change by calculating through what we call the statistical use. Yes, this much of literacy has increased. This much of economic growth has increased. Means through statistical term, you can calculate what you call growth-centric development. You can measure so by calculating facts, quantitative way. But there's other kind of development. Actually, our present developmental discourse is going by growth-centric development. 4%, 7%, 8%, or politicians happy that country is going by growth. If it is a growth, why people are suffering? Big question is, it means in qualitative level, the people are still in that way, not qualitatively developed. I'll come to that point to explain later on in a more detailed manner. So, qualitative change or quantitative change. Now another word has also very important today. Sometimes if we see some people are developing, we call the developed. And if they are unable to develop, we sometimes quote unquote term use what we call the stereotype term, the backward. At this moment in the era of 21st century, human rights issues has emerged. We academicians cannot call someone as a backward. It is unethical. What the term we use, you see very important thing, developmental deficits. I use here is because if you say, even we are unable to say underdeveloped. you can simply say these are the developmental deficits. As like as vitamin deficits, a good health require good vitamin. You can say if you have a potentials in the body of good vitamin, you have a good health. And if you have not a potentials in economic development, it means somehow your economic deficiencies are there. It means we have to speak someone not as a backward in reference to developmental issues, rather we can simply call developmental deficits. So our need is we have to study the developmental deficits, be from geographical angle, be from sociological angle, be from economic angle, be from anthropological angle. Means we have to find out the developmental deficits. Without talking about the developmental deficits, we cannot speak anything about the development, because our main goal being academicians, being a scholar, to find out the developmental deficits and to put forward the deficits to the planners and policymakers to plan accordingly. Now, now I'm coming to another issue, that is the development core and periphery relations. For studying development, we have to think core and periphery at local context and global context. Core means benefits of development who are utilizing much more, and who are failed to utilizing the benefits. So core periphery relations. Perhaps all of you know, I have already used the term rich become richer, poor become poorer. So it means those who are poor is still poor. Those who are rich, day by day they are reaching. You see how many millionaires have developed in India already, in independent country. But poor, at the same time, there is also increase of poor people. You have easily seen the last COVID context, the marginal workers, so-called migrant workers, Porija Ishomik. We have all seen. It means the core periphery relation, rich become richer, poor become poorer. How these developmental programs, how it helped the poor to develop, how it helped the already developed to more developed. That is the major issue. So another important theoretical perspective of understanding development is inclusion and exclusion. Perhaps all of you know that even in the colleges and universities, a new subject has come up, what we call in the name of Center for the Study of Social Exclusion and Social Inclusion. The social exclusion and social inclusion is very much related to the developmental issues. Means if existing developmental programs, whom they excluded, whom they included. Means for whom it is inclusive, for whom it is exclusive. For an example, suppose development and displacement. Being a geographer, all of you know, the entire Northeast India, even some parts of even in our Darjeeling Hill, there is a policy, what we called power project, electric power project or thermal power project. Another was also the so-called railway line inside the mountain from Sevok to Rangpo. This is, of course, if you look at the infrastructural side, obviously we can say these are the parameters of development. State also said it is the parameters of development. But if you look very carefully, whenever any development program starts, local peoples are displaced, what we call development and displacement. Now, development and displacement is almost a regular phenomenon all over the world, not only in India, everywhere. Who are displaced? Basically, poor people are displaced. It means they are excluded from the developmental aspects. Rather, whenever the plant is successful, middle class people are getting facilities. Maybe as engineer they join, maybe as office worker they join, maybe as a doctor they join. It means to someone it is inclusive also. So inclusive and exclusive, these parameters also to be needed whenever we are studying the concept of development. Means how the present developmental process excluded some groups, how the present developmental process included some groups. This is a very important issue. So development and displacement issues is very important in the context of core periphery relations of development. Now, whenever we're talking about the development, three other important sociological aspects is very necessary. I must, in this context, I must refer one important book. Suppose all of you have came to know about that the government of India has published several status report of many communities. I am not going details about that. I request all of you, since all of you are in geography, sociology, anthropology, and economics, last report is by Professor Khaka. He has prepared a report on socio-economic, educational, health issues of the tribals of India, All India report. This report, everybody should read to know who are the tribes who are included, who have got much maximum benefit of development, and who are the tribes who are got excluded from development. So you can see easily how much developmental process is not universal. It is not equally affecting people. Whom it is affecting, whom it is rejecting, that is the issue of research. But unfortunately, we are not doing that sort of research, basically go by in other ways, instead of identifying who are beneficial, who are the non-beneficial. And three things are important here: security and equality. Development will be successful if human security is there and if human beings feel that they are equal. Otherwise, we cannot say in development in a holistic term. There's a difference between growth and development. Suppose all of you know there is a Horlicks advertisement in television. Mummy, mummy, badshami. Perhaps all of you have seen. Mother giving Horlicks to her kid. Kid is every day increasing. You can measure through a scale. And mummy is happy that my child is every day is increasing. So very good growth. But if you take her to doctor, if you take him or her to doctor will say he has increased by length, but by health-wise he is now malnutrition. He has started. It means growth is not always development. Development should be holistic. Growth should be there. He should be tall, but at the same time he should be healthy. The healthy concept is basically the development. Social health is the development. Now, once again, I am coming very important geographical issues in the context of development, since one part of the organizer are the geographers, and that is also very much important to our anthropology and sociological environmental studies, which is no more a geographical subject. It is everyone's subject now. Nowadays, we're all talking about climate change, climate change, climate change. Several seminars we organize in the university. Even in India and abroad, I have visited attending those seminars. But the important issue, have we asked ourselves whether the climate is first time changing or not? Climate is not changing first time. Climate change universally, time to time, through evolutionary process. All of you we have witnessed the Jurassic Park. That time human being was not there. It was this dinosaur. Now no more dinosaurs. It means climate change was there. It's still there. And it will be there. We cannot restrict it. It is a natural process. Suppose I'm telling one important fact. Very important fact is this: 5 times scientists noted that already there were 5 times great climate change occurred in the history of the environment. We study environment, but we do not study the history of the environment. The geologists studied it. Without geology, it is very difficult to understand the climate change. Geologists said that already we have experienced 5 major global warming, 5 major climate change. It is not the first time. But what is important? And within this 5 major climate change, one important is 4 times there was ice age. Tushar Jug chilo, 4 bar Tushar Jug chilo. That is why you called in anthropology, prehistoric anthropology, called Great Ice Age. And 3 times it was what we call global warming. The global warming kintu ice age theke kom hoyeche. Means it was 3 times, but ice age was 4 times. But even the today problem is a global, what we said, I say, it is a global warming. This global warming, what is the reason? Earlier it was a global warming. It was also a global warming today. Main reason is in early days, global warming was a natural process through natural order. That is why ice age. Then what? Because today we are living in a Holocene era, but there was a Pleistocene era. From Pleistocene to Holocene, time to time climate has been changed. But what is more important, today's global warming is not due to natural course due to natural order, but more important factor is so-called capitalistic growth, higher technology, excess emission of carbon dioxide, and that is the major reason of global warming. And who are responsible? The industrialist countries are responsible. Our modern technology is responsible. It means that is also the parameters of development, industrialization, capitalism. So today's global warming main root is so-called capitalist development, not the socialistic development. So without capitalistic development, until unless we restrict this so-called ongoing capitalistic growth of development, you cannot protect environment. So we cannot think for sustainable development. Of course, we can say, but nothing can be happen until unless we change our mindset from capitalistic growth of development to alternative aspect of global development. I'm now leaving this chapter. Now, I'm coming to by raising some fundamental questions. The developmental issue, what is the main goal of life? First of all, you see, main goal of life is to survive. First is survive. Life should be survive. Then to enjoy. Survive and enjoy. The enjoyment is basically developmental terms basically not related with the survival. It is basically related with the attainment, how you enjoy your life. So in anthropology, we teach called basic needs and derived needs. Means three important things are important. Your food, your shelter, your hunger is very important. For living, it is important. If after fulfilling those needs, if you go for another needs, that may be called as a development. Suppose I am not getting food, I am getting food, it is not at all a development. You only someone support you to survive. But development will come if we go beyond that. Yes, now I am getting food, now I have a shelter, now I have a dress, now I am thinking for education. So education is a development. Means after fulfilling your basic needs, when another needs will come, and if you are able to fulfill those needs, or you are getting support from your state to fulfilling those needs, that may be called as a development. But unfortunately, in our country, when the state giving you food, they also say that it is a development. It is not a development. They are helping you for survival. But if you think beyond that survival, if you want to have a comfort in life, this comfort in life, smoothness in life, attainment in life is actually the development. But who is talking about that? Our case, development means whatever you go to the giving to the people or developmental issues. It's not like that. So survival and beyond. So development, not survival, it is beyond. So we have to think on that way. So means how you achieved, what you attained, what are the happiness, what about the peace, what about the social peace, what about the economic peace, what about the environmental peace. That will give a important issue of development. Suppose Bhutan. Bhutan is a small country. Only one country they have shown that they are calculating, they have indexed their developed what you call happiness index. They feel that a country is, if the country feels happy, if the peoples feel happy, only they can say development, otherwise not. And this happiness is economic happiness, happiness may be political happiness, it is the social happiness, and finally, above all, your geographical issue, environmental happiness. That is why development time to time concept is changing and reviewing. So human development, human security, these are most of the important issues of contemporary discourses of development. Einstein, perhaps all of you heard about the term Einstein. He has made a very important remark. Albert Einstein made a remark. What is right is not always popular. Means, and what he said at last, what is popular is not always right. Means, if you say development term is very popular but not always right, it proves that. Means the term development is very popular. To everyone it is very popular. But in terms of Einstein's view, it is not always right. It means it is in a wrong direction or not in exact direction, not in proper direction. It means what is right now not always proper. Means if you criticize the concept of development, it is not a popular thing. This speak I am giving you the reflexivity. It is not so popular. Rather popular what is not the right. So this issue is very important in the context of development. So we have, this is called interrogation, how we can interrogate the concept of development. Now, discourse analysis. I think how much time I have left now? Organizer, please, can you tell me how much time I have now? Anyway, I will take another 15 minutes to finish. Development discourse. There is a term called development discourse. What is discourse? Discourse means conventional writings, conventional beliefs, or stereotype beliefs, stereotype practices, what already accepted by the people as the good. That is the discourse. Similarly, development has the discourse. It means the model framed by the Westerners, model framed by the planners, and that discourse actually the dominant discourse. That we have to follow this, we have to follow that, and ultimately we will develop. The model they have shown, the so-called sources they have shown. So this discourse of development, who created that discourse? The discourse is created by the power. Important term. Here is the importance of the postmodern theory. What Foucault has said, that knowledge is controlled by the power. Means what power said, we feel that is the good. It means our knowledge is controlled by the power. So developmental knowledge, what we have at this moment, it is basically also regulated and controlled by the power. And who are those power? The powerful lobbies, powerful countries, powerful lobbies. So if we want to have a good new developmental process, what is necessary? We have to go another postmodern theory, that is called discourse analysis. Means we have to analyze the discourses, whatever in the name of development. Are they really helpful? Or are they positive for all? Or are they negative for someone? If we go on that way, that is called discourse analysis. Nowadays, discourse analysis is a new methodology in all social sciences, even in geography, sociology, anthropology, history, political science. That is why in history, new history has emerged, what we call subaltern history. It is out of discourse analysis. Similarly, new discourses have come up in geography, new discourses have come up in so-called anthropology and sociology. So now they are analyzing the role of agencies. What is the actual roles played by agencies for the sake of development of the people? Do the agencies are in a position to say that they are successful to have a holistic development? They are successful for a so-called inclusive development. They are successful for inclusive education. They are the successful for inclusive economic development. If this question emerge, what we call discourse analysis, and ultimately, if we incorporate people's voices in developmental programs, because if I am taking a program of development, what I call policy making, in our country, there we have not much giving much emphasis on policy research, but almost in other developed countries, there is a separate department called policy research. Means even in university and college level, there is a course for policy studies. Means you prepare policies by asking people, or you evaluate the existing policies by asking the people. Both comes under the policy studies. So policy study is very important for the sake of developmental issues. Without policy studies, what we call policy making, policy evaluation, so policy studies to be tagged up with the developmental issues, and so new developmental studies require policy studies, policy analysis, discourse analysis, and framing a new policies. Now I am giving two examples. Suppose in every discipline we have applied aspect, we have a theoretical aspect, and also action aspect. Suppose in geography you have applied geography. My university of the department, geography department has two names together, geography and applied geography. Similarly, our sociology, anthropology, we have applied sociology, applied anthropology. This applied sociology, applied geography, applied anthropology basically comes under the domain of maybe developmental geography, developmental sociology, developmental anthropology. What actually they do? They actually do study, evaluate, and make a comment on existing developmental programs, and how far those made up impacts on the society. Suppose tourism development programs taken up by the government of West Bengal, how far it has made an impact to the society. That is called applied research. That is also called developmental sociology or developmental anthropology. But now another brand of anthropology, sociology, and geography has emerged. They said that what actually happened after so-called developmental programs that I already raised, suppose developmental displacement, environmental pollutions, development and so-called underdevelopment, development and exclusions. So this alternative approach comes under the new domain of the discipline of geography and anthropology, what we call anthropology of development, sociology of development, geography of development. This geography of development is studying or in a different manner what actually happened after development. Suppose how the courses of river, I'm not a geographer, I'm not an expert, but I have seen examples and many of my students, because sometimes I have to the thesis examiner of the many geography departments also. You can easily see the North Bengal, how the courses of river has changed almost every year. Take the case of Malda, Nodir Bhangun, Baaz Bhangun. Take the case of our near Balason River here, very near to my university. Take the case of Coach Bihar. Take the case of Alipurduar. Why the courses of river are changed? Is it for natural process? Maybe natural, but underlying factors is expansion of urban places, too much extraction of boulders from the so-called river bed, growth of habitation at the river side. Many of my geography students, scholars, they did their thesis in my university, and even I was sometime went there to listen to their presentation. So you see, development not simply you can say the environmental change. Why development created environmental change, that comes under the domain of what I said, anthropology of development, sociology of development, or maybe the geography of development. So those my young colleagues and friends, those who are in college and universities, do that sort of important researches, what happened after development, what we call reflexivity in research or alternative model in research, or in other way, they call sustainability of development. Now, in this context, I'll be forgetting that what is very important one, there's a very famous book written by one of my colleagues, one of the most important colleague and friend. Many people have a belief that religion always creates problem for development. Maybe. If you ask any so-called secularist, he will say religion always creates danger to development. But there was a seminar, international seminar in Jawaharlal Nehru University, organized by the same, almost same. They have a so-called urban planning department that comes under the geography also. They said that religion has a positive role in development if you use it properly. I'm not going in details. Time is short. And following that seminar, we organized a seminar in West Bengal on developmental discourses. And there was a book published by my friend. It was, you can write this book. I suggest all of you to read this book, as because there are papers from geography, there are papers from economics, there are papers from political science, there are papers from sociology, and of course there are papers from anthropologists, even economists also. Interrogating developmental discourses. The title of the book is Interrogating Development Discourses on Development in India Today. You see, very important title. First part is theoretical part, interrogating development discourses. What I interrogate today, almost same thing that was there. If you want to have a better idea, you can follow that book. The last part is more important, on development in India today. In respect, this book is written, entire discourse is written on the basis of development of India, right from your West Bengal, Bihar, Northeast India, middle part of India, even southern part of India. So you see the development to be seen in a very broader academic perspective. Now, what is needed? Most important need we are facing in the context of developmental issues and discourse analysis of development or interrogating development is evolve a more debate on the present issues of development. I suggest the organizer, I appreciate the organizer, they have organized this sort of seminar. You organize more seminars on the issues of debate and raise the debate how far, with of course through field studies, how far development actually affecting people, or how far the people are in a position or participate in developmental process. I appreciate you for this time. Next time, once again, if you organize, you call more papers who have actually worked on developmental issues with a more field data. I need data bank is most important. I'll be happy if the Birpara College be able to form a data bank on developmental issues of North Bengal. Even we have a department here, developmental studies at our North Bengal University. I was also associated with the department in COVID context. Maybe it closed now. You can also make a contact us, because my friend, perhaps all of you know Jeta Sankirta, and perhaps all of you know in economics department. He was many of my geographic colleagues of the department. Even Ranjan was also the member of that. Second, through this research, you developed a new model. Means how you develop a new model, what the people said about the development, what they require, what they actually require. Are they satisfied with the present developmental programs? If it are satisfied, the areas, which program are helpful to them, which are not helpful to them. Similarly, the most important is pathology of development. We have to evolve the pathology of the development. Pathology means what I said. The pathology means, perhaps all of you know, we go for blood tests, we go for many tests to diagnose the disease. So what are the present disease of development? We diagnose the need of study of social pathology or geographical pathology or environmental pathology for the sake of developmental issues of North Bengal. That's the most important part. Now, disparity. Whether the present generation cause any disparity or not, through field studies. I once again said this part is entirely my appeal is for field studies, real empirical data, the disparity of development. Are the developmental programs creating any disparity among the people? You can easily see, even in the rural areas, rural poor are more poor, rural rich are more rich. So you see there is a disparity, no doubt of it. Inequality. How far inequality has been created out of the developmental policies? Everywhere, every day, you can listen in the newspaper. People are now confronting with each other out of share. Share means some said that. I can give one example. Perhaps all of you know, yesterday I was getting this news from the newspaper. Suppose, important one, benefits government giving to the downtrodden sections. It is good, very good. But at the same time, there are many people, they are preparing a paper from the so-called power hand, and they also claim those facilities, though themselves are very well-to-do and rich. It means, you see how power is playing. Can you call it inclusive or it is exclusive? It means how we use and misuse the developmental processes. My word is how we use and misuse the developmental processes. Then we have to study the displacement. Even in North Bengal, a lot of people are displaced out of supposed expansion of the cities. One example I am giving you, suppose a shopping mall is good for everyone or not. Maybe it is a good for so-called middle class people like us, because for time saving you can go to the shopping mall, as you call it, you will get everything from Hira to Jira under one roof. But whenever you are going for the shopping mall, we are all forgetting so-called petty traders, vendors. We are not care for them, so their business is almost vanished. You won't get any umbrella repairer now, very difficult to get, as because now so-called ready-made umbrella is so cheap. If it is China-made, you can easily buy, and even the cost is much higher than, even the cost is much lower than what you want to repair the old one. So you see, development is good, but how far it is touching the people? Main issue is, our main concern of geography, sociology is both environment and people. So our concern, our focus should be the common people, not so-called the elites. And if it be elites, who are those elites? Now, so new meaning. I am coming to the last part. new meaning of development. So development is not survival. I do not consider development as a survival for the sake of survival. Development must be considered as a beyond survival, what the people attained in life for the smooth living. I once used the word development. I can ready to accept the development if you feel that our question is not a survival, but how much we attain and achieve for peaceful and smooth living. This is the development. Second, we have to think the basic needs and derived needs. So development should be on the line of derived needs. And one important thing for the sake of development is the good governance. Without good governance, it's political science issue. Without good governance, development is unthinkable. The good governance from local to state top level. Say from if it starts from the village level, it should reach to the sort of central level. Means without good governance, actually we have seen what is happening on in the name of governance, sometimes caste based, sometimes political based. People claim they're sad. Suppose you see so-called COVID vaccination. Even I exhausted 5 days, complete 5 days for having a first dose. That's because massacre, no such rules, people going kind. But some people are coming from outside, quickly managing something, someone, the network, or maybe political lobby, they're getting first, then others are last. So what actually happening? Is it inclusive or is it exclusive? Now, another important model, what I framed during my studies, it was AMP model of development. AMP model of development, what I call A for awareness. Without awareness, development is not possible. If I am aware that COVID vaccination is important for my health, on that case, I will go for COVID vaccination. If I do not aware about the COVID problem, I will not go. So awareness is the first. Or if I aware that modern education is important for my survival, I will go for it. So awareness is the first. M for motivation. For development, motivation is important. Here's the role of agencies. In spite of only simple giving up aids is not the role of agencies. Agencies should motivate the people for the sake of real development, holistic development, not goal-centric development. And finally, the participation means I must participate in the developmental process, and that this roadmap of participation should be facilitated by so-called states or the agencies. And of course, in the context of developmental program, there should be a short-term and a long-term issues in the context of developmental programs. And of course, another point is important. We must think for a lesser citizen. We're all talking about the development always for affluent citizens, but we must think for a lesser citizen, means those who are not getting proper care and treatment from the state or from the society itself. So what is more needed? Social leader is more important for the sake of development. Now, last part on the 3 minutes I will take from my last part, that is what we call this developmental theories. Since time is short, I am not going in details. Maybe the next time, if I have a chance, I will discuss in detail. There's a dependency theory. This dependency theory actually major reason of so-called underdevelopment. That is one of the reasons so-called developmental deficiencies, as because for the sake of development, we are unable to stand by our own footing, rather than looking beyond for this so-called support and aids. It means we are depending someone for our development. That depending someone means World Bank. If World Bank give you money, your infrastructure will develop. Or maybe International Monetary Fund support, infrastructure will develop. Your NGO give you your facilities, you will develop. Means you are depending someone, you are unable. So it means self-sufficiency, self-reliance is the most important thing for the so-called, what should I say, sustainable development. In case of sustainable development, we should not go beyond. We should develop ourselves by our own hunch. AMP model, what I suggest. And two another important theories are there. I'm not going in details. It is a little bit tough to explain by 2 minutes. One is Euler-Stern theory of so-called world system theory. That is the core, semi-periphery, periphery relations, what actually existing today. You have a core, the core means developed countries. Semi-periphery means those who are the developing countries. Maybe our India is a semi-periphery. Of course, India is tied to reach to the core, no doubt of it. And last one is a periphery country, means more poor countries like Afghanistan, for an example. So you see, this is the world system theory by an economist, and that creates the core will be controlling the semi-periphery. Semi-periphery will be controlling the periphery, and this system is going on, what we call the dependency approach. But another approach is also there, what we call articulation theory. Articulation theory means out of interactions, means if all the countries really think for development for the global people, they should interact with each other without any vested interest. It means they want to develop the people of the globe. What we call articulate means you articulate the core with the periphery, you articulate periphery with the core. So I must not go beyond, because almost I have taken 1 hour complete. So once again, best wishes to all of you, but time is short. There are many things still to narrate, but are unable as because of time constraints. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to have a deliberation on developmental discourses. As because nowadays, as you see at the senior age, I am thinking about the theoretical issues. I could have explained it through my empirical studies, but I am not presented. I think many of my young colleagues are there. I'm happy to see many of my students here in the digital platform. It is a digital culture now, digital education, of course. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Sheikh Rohim Mondal, and I also thanks to Dr. Ranjan Roy for his wonderful and fascinating discussions. Hopeful this discussions will enrich audience and students' knowledge. অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ স্যার আপনাকে। আমি আমার দর্শক এবং পার্টিসিপেন্টদেরকে অনুরোধ করছি যে এই পর্বের এখানেই প্রায় আমরা সমাপ্তি ঘোষণা করব। আমাদের পরবর্তী সেশন শুরু হবে টেকনিক্যাল সেশন 3 এবং 4, সেটা গুগল মিট প্ল্যাটফর্মে। আপনাদের কাছে আর কিছুক্ষণ সময় আমরা চেয়ে নেব, তারপরে আমরা গুগল মিট প্ল্যাটফর্মে আমাদের প্রোগ্রাম শুরু করব। তো আমাদের মধ্যে আছেন আমাদের আরেকজন কাছের ব্যক্তি ডক্টর সোমনাথ ভট্টাচার্য আমাদের মধ্যে। স্যার আপনাকে রিকোয়েস্ট করব যদি এই আজকের যে আমাদের টপিক সোসাইটি ইকোনমি এবং ডেভেলপমেন্ট সম্পর্কে আপনি অল্প কিছু আপনার মতামত একটু যদি তুলে ধরেন।
Okay, am I audible? Am I audible? I think. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the onset, my cordial regards to my very respected teacher, Professor Sheikh Rohim Mondal sir, because whenever Kamrujaman you were introducing him, I just add one line that Rohim Mondal sir is the founder, head of the Department of Technology, University of North Bengal, and I was the first batch student. I was one of the first batch students, and whatever the theoretical anthropology and other aspects of anthropology, the minimum which I have learned is directly from my very respected teacher, Professor Sheikh Rohim Mondal sir, and I would like to thank Dr. Kamrujaman for giving me this opportunity to attend in this webinar. And we are extremely thankful again to Professor Sheikh Rohim Mondal sir also for his beautiful lecture. As I always used to say that I never miss his lecture, and whenever sir was delivering his lecture, I was just noting it down as if I was back in my student days. Still, I am always a student of sir, no doubt about that. Now, well, about the central theme of your today's webinar, which is very important related to society, economy, and development. When I was just listening the lecture of very respected Professor Mondal sir, I was going back to one of the book. I was recalling one of the book, The Wretched of the Earth, in 1961, written by a French psychiatrist and later on a French social thinker, Frantz Fanon. And its preface was written by another very renowned French sociologist and social thinker, Jean-Paul Sartre. There he had written one sentence that the world is divided into two camps. World is divided into two camps. And by that two camps, what he meant or what he critically analyzed was that one hand, there are the so-called power elites who call them developed, related to their economic power or related to their political power, and other hand they had coined other section of people who are living beyond the core of the urban amenities and much more living their lives in the lap of nature. What we in anthropology is generally used to say them as the indigenous or the aboriginal or the autochthones, the autochthonous groups. Now, as Sir has rightly pointed out, development is for whom? Only for the people who are moving in the core or who are associated with the core or at the grassroots level. So that is the contradiction. That is the main point of focus as the anthropologists, we are doing. Because whenever we are thinking about the development, often it is turning out that in the name of development, ultimately we are degrading the nature, and it is severely affecting the sustainability of the livelihood and culture of the people who are much more dependent on the nature. So there is the point of dilemma, there is the point of contradiction. As Sir had told that related to the hydroelectric projects of same, and recently I can just add to it that just if you go for last 5 or 6 years, if you just look at the Uttarakhand region, Uttaranchal Uttarakhand region, one after another, the geographers here, the renowned geographers here in this platform, you may have noticed that in last 5 or 6 years, severe natural calamities and very major
I think Dr. Somnath Bhattacharya Jaji has some network problem. Sir, আমার কথা কি শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? স্যার, আপনার ওখানে সম্ভবত নেটওয়ার্কের একটু সমস্যা চলছে। দর্শক বন্ধুদেরকে আমি আবারও বলছি, আমাদের থার্ড এবং ফোর্থ টেকনিক্যাল সেশন ওটা ইতিমধ্যে একটু পরেই শুরু হবে। গুগল মিট প্ল্যাটফর্মে যে সমস্ত পেপার প্রেজেন্টাররা আছেন তারা গুগল মিট প্ল্যাটফর্মে আপনারা লিঙ্কের মধ্য দিয়ে জয়েন করে যান। আমরা কিছুক্ষণের মধ্যেই আমরা ফার্স্ট সেশন এখানেই শেষ করব। আমাদের মধ্যে ছিলেন ডক্টর সোমনাথ ভট্টাচার্য, আসাম ইউনিভার্সিটি। আমরা প্রযুক্তিগত কারণে ওনার নেটওয়ার্ক বিচ্ছিন্ন হয়েছে, আরো কিছুক্ষণের জন্য আমরা ওনার জন্য অপেক্ষা করব। ওনার আলোচনার মধ্য দিয়েই আমরা ফার্স্ট সেশনের প্রোগ্রাম এখানে শেষ করব। আজকের আমাদের সোসাইটি ইকোনমি এবং ডেভেলপমেন্ট সম্পর্কিত যে জাতীয় স্তরের ওয়েবিনার আমরা এখানে আয়োজন করেছিলাম, দ্বিতীয় দিন পা দিল।
Excuse me.
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
Excuse me. I'm sorry that suddenly some network distortion occurred. So I just wind up my things very well. Very quickly, I'm winding up. As Sarah has also pointed out the concept of need by Malinowski, by Boris Kaspar Malinowski. When need turns into greed, that degrades the nature, and ultimately that creates a negative development that pulls back the development from the goal to provide the benefit to the grassroots level, rather confined to the hand of a few individuals. So I once again very much thankful to Dr. Kamruzzaman sir for giving me this opportunity to attend in this platform, and my cordial regards to my very respected teacher Professor Sekrahim Mondal sir in this platform. Thank you so much. My regards to you.
Thank you so much, Professor Somnath Bhattacharya, and I also thanks to Dr. Ranjan Roy, Professor Sheikh Rahim Mondal sir, and others. I also thanks to say our colleague Pranay De, Monosri Dashgupta, Shan Anjum Brotati Sharen, and our IQAC coordinator Niklesh Bhattacharya. I also thanks to our teacher in charge Birpara College, Dr. Dil Kumar Pradhan, and our advisory committee, our governing body member. So here now it is time to end our first session. So I also thanks to say all of you who are till now waiting for us সো দ্যাটস এন্ড। ধন্যবাদ, সুস্থ থাকবেন, ভালো থাকবেন।